Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's Daf Yomi, Rosh HaShanna Chav Zayin. We begin right on top of the Amud. The Mishnah spoke about the shofar of Rosh HaShanna. Upiv mitzupe zahav, whose mouthpiece, where you place your mouth, was plated with gold. How can you do that, says the Gemara? Tanya, we learned in a Brisa. Tzipo zav, if he coated his shofar with gold, b'mokayim hanachas piv pasel, if it's where you meant to place your mouth, and that's pasel. Rashi says, shehatkia b'zahav v'lei b'shofar. You're blowing gold and not a shofar. It's a chatzitza, a barrier between yourself and the shofar. The Brisa continues, shaloi b'mokayim hanachas piv kasher. If it's plated elsewhere, not going to interfere with your mouth, then it's fine. How does the Mishnah allow coating the shofar with gold? Doesn't it present a chatzitza? If it's where you place your mouth. Amar Abaye, very simple. Kitnan nami masnisin. You know what the Mishnah is speaking about? Shaloi b'makam hanachas petnan. It's by the peh of the shofar. It's where you place your mouth, but not exactly upon contact. It's around the opening of the shofar, near where one places his mouth. So it's just there for ornamental purposes. It doesn't create a chatzitza between one's mouth and the shofar. The Mishnah spoke about trumpets who joined forces. This was actually in the Mikdash. So they had a shofar in the middle, surrounded by chatzotzres. V'shtei chatzotzres minat stadim. One trumpet on either side, and they would blow together. The Mishnah says, well, the shofar ends after the chatzotzres. So after they finish, the shofar continues a bit further. But still, says the Gemara, utre koli, two sounds, two voices, the shofar and the chatzotzres, sounding their sounds at the same time, mimishtami. Is that something that you can hear? Is that something that you can discern and appreciate? It's just a conglomerate of sounds, of noises. Vatanya, the Brisa says, Zocher v'shomer b'dibur echad ne'emru. The words Zocher Shem Shabbos Lekache, which were said in the first set of Aseres Adibros, and the words Shomer Eshem HaKadosh Shabbos Lekache, which we have in the second set of Aseres Adibros, the Zocher and Shomer were actually said at once. B'dibur echad nemru. They were said in one expression, in one utterance, by Hashem. Masha'ein ha'peh yechol l'daber, which is something that a human being can't express. And typically, a person's mind, he can't really tolerate, he can't really appreciate two words being spoken at once. This was a nace. Hashem can do it, and somehow miraculously we were able to discern and make it out. But typically, two kolos, two sounds, two noises, two words being spoken at once cannot be understood. So what's the point of having the shofar and the chatzotzres blowing simultaneously? You can't hear either one of them properly. Answers the Gemara. Well, that's exactly what the Mishnah says. Lekach marach b'shofar. That's exactly why he extends the shofar's blowing past the chatzotzres. So they stop and he continues a bit, so that you get the end of his tkiya with clarity. That separates the shofar from the chatzotzres. Well, that's only the end of the tkiya. All throughout the tkiya, they were joining forces, they were all sounding together. Just because the last moment of the tkiya shofar is heard on its own. Is that sufficient? L'meimer, do you mean to say, if one hears the end of a tkiya, below tchilas tkiya without the beginning, yatsa, is that okay? Such as in this case, where the beginning is just one conglomerate of voice of noises, and it's just the ending that you actually discern. Is that enough? And likewise, umemela, let's take it a step further. Tchilas tkiya b'leif soif tkiya yatsa. Suppose he hears the beginning of a tkiya without the end. Is that okay? And we're going to ask a kasha on both, and therefore the Gemara had a diuk for the second concept as well. So explains Rashi. So we have a diuk in both directions. It would appear at the end of the tkiya suffices, and likewise, let's assume, in the same vein, a tchilas tkiya without an end would suffice as well. We have a kash on that. from a Mishnah. Tashma. Taka b'rishona. We meant to build 3 sets of tkiyas, malchis, zechronis, and shofars. Each set contains a tkiya, then comes a shvarim or a trua, followed by a long tkiya. So it's tkiya, shvarim, trua, tkiya. Next set again, tkiya, shvarim, trua, tkiya. Suppose he was trying to be economical. So he did as follows. Taka b'rishona. The first tkiya, before the first set, right? The first tkiya of the first set, he did a proper tkiya. Then he did the shvarim or the trua, and then he tried to do 2 on 1. Umashach b'shniya, the second tkiya following that shvarim, he did a very long one. He extended it, lengthened it, kishtayim, as though it's a double tkiya. So instead of 5 seconds, 10-second tkiya, to accommodate both tkiyas. The tkiya that's meant to follow the shvarim in the first set, and it should also count for the tkiya preceding the shvarim in the second set. What's the halacha? Does it work? No. It only counts as 1. Says Rashi, 4 lines from the top. Taka b'rishona. B'pshuto shel lefnei trua. The first straight sound before the trua. That was a proper one. But then after the trua, he did a little trick. Umoshach b'shniya kishtayim. He was meant to do 2 tkiyas in a row. Achas lefshuta la'acharea de malchis. 1 was meant to be the last tkiya for the first set for malchis. V'achas lefshuta lefanei lezachronis. The next tkiya was meant to be the tkiya that precedes the set of zachronis. He did it double long to account for 2 tkiyas. The Mishnah says it doesn't work. It counts only as 1. Asks the Gemara, Amai, what's the problem? You just told me the beginning is okay even without the end. If you hear the end, it's okay even without the beginning. So over here, why can't it count as 2 tkiyas? It should count as 1 tkiya that's needed for the end of the first set of blows. So you have the beginning of the tkiya, even though you don't really have the middle, because it just continues on to the next tkiya. So you have the beginning without the end. And regarding the next tkiya, which was meant to be the first tkiya for the second set of blows, you're missing the beginning because it's just one continuation. With the previous one, you don't have the initiation, but you have the ending. Beginning or end is enough. Amai, says the Gemara, what's the problem? Tisalak lebitarti. Let's consider it 2 tkiyas. Answers the Gemara, what you're thinking? Well, it's a big difference. Here you're trying to split a tkiya into 2. Who says you can do that? Pesuke tkiyasa. Mihadadi loy paskinan. We don't split 1 tkiya into 2. Okay, but we're still holding our ground that beginning without an end without a beginning is okay. In this case, it's different because you're trying to take a long tkiya and split it. You can't do that. Tashma, let's bring a raya to our discussion. We have a Mishnah coming up which says, Hatekeh l'seicha bar. Mepharshim say in the time of Gzeira, they were trying to conceal the tkiyas. They blew into some pit, a bar in the ground, dus. Rashi learns that dus is an enclosure, above ground enclosure, some sort of like a pit, but just an above ground storage pit. Pitos, onto a large vat. Is he yaitse? Well, it depends. Im koil shefer shama yatsa. If he actually heard the pure sound of the shofar, that's good. V'im koil havora shama lo yatsa. But if you heard the reverberations, the echo of the shofar, bouncing back and forth, that's not a clear shofar sound. He's not yaitse. Why not? Amai, what's the problem? Leifak b'tchilas tkiya. Let him be yaitse by hearing the initiation of the tkiya. That he hears clearly. Mikame di la arvev kala, before the coil gets all muddled and echoey. If the tchila is enough, why isn't he yaitse? Says the Gemara, let's go back. Let's cancel what we said. Beginning without an end without a beginning doesn't count. You need to hear the tkiya from beginning to end. Oh, what about the kasha in the Mishnah? How can we have the chatzotros and the shofar blowing simultaneously? It's just one mix-up of noises. Just as the Brisa tells us, Zocher v'shamar isn't something you can express or understand. It's just confusion. Says the Gemara, there's a difference. You know why? Ella, rather, let's say like this. Tarti koli mechad gavra, two sounds, two expressions, coming from the same person, that's just confusion. Lo mishtami. You can't express it, you can't discern, you can't understand what he's saying. It's just like Zocher v'shamar, unless Hashem says it. But otherwise, it's not something that a human being could recognize, could discern, could comprehend. And that's why that was a miraculous phenomenon. But mitrei gavra mishtami. If you have two sounds, two expressions coming from two directions, from two sources, from two people. He says Zocher, he says Shomer. That's okay, it's clearly expressed. And you can kind of pay attention to both of them, somewhat. Multitask. So, by the shofar and chatzotros, certainly, it's two sources, two instruments, and they're playing together. Over here, it's certainly even better because it's like an orchestra. You don't hear the drum interfering with the saxophone, interfering with the violin. It's all one nice blend of music. So certainly in this case it would work. But the concept is that if they're coming from two sources, each one has its own distinct sound, its own distinct expression. It's enunciated clearly, it's heard clearly. So even if it's happening at the same time, you can technically discern either one. And therefore the shofar and chatzotros blowing together is no problem. Umitrei gavri mishtami? Is that so? Two expressions coming from two sources, from two people, can be heard and understood and discerned? But Tanya, listen to this. We learned in Maseches Megillah. But Torah, when they read Torah, echad korev, echad metargem. One will read the Torah in shul, the other fellow will translate. Ubilvad shelayu echad korev, there's a girsa echad korev, shlaya echad korev, ushnayim metargem. As long as you don't have two people translating at once. Why? Because it's just confusion. Having two people doing a translation at the same time, you can't hear either one. What do you mean? Tfrei Gavri, two people, two sources. And why is it confusing? Just focus on the fellow that you want to listen to. Or bounce back and forth. Why is it confusing? Says the Gemara, typically it is confusing. But over here by the shofar and chatzotros, it's different. It's dear. It's exciting. And therefore, you put your mind to it, you pay attention, and you don't allow yourself to get confused. Our sugya of shofar is similar to the next part of that Mishnah, which says, typically, too many voices, too many sounds create confusion, but we have exception. When it's dear, when it's precious, when it's interesting, then there's no interference. For instance, B'Hallel, Uvi Megillah, when it comes to reading the Hallel Megillah, I feel Asura Kern. You could even have 10 people reading together. And Rashi says, let's assume they're not synchronized perfectly. So he's saying Hallelujah, he's saying B'Teis Yisrael. He's saying, it's okay. Why? Alma, apparently, Kivan the Chaviv. Yoav Daite, since it's dear, it's precious. Rashi says, Chadosha Hilai, it's something exciting. Something seasonal. Megillah once a year. Hallel, special for Rosh Chodesh, for Yom Tov. It's Chaviv. Yoav Daite. Person will apply his mind. He'll focus. He won't get mixed up. Even though there are several people talking at the same time. Hachanami here as well when it comes to shofar, which is a once-a-year event. Even the chaviv, since it has that chavivus to the person, yoiv daite v'shama, he'll focus. He'll pay attention. He'll listen. And he'll discern. He won't get confused. And it's all the more so when you have an orchestra. Shofar and chatzotros playing together. It blends together. And there's no interference. He'll hear what he has to hear. He'll hear the shofar and be to the mitzvah. Oh, so that's a conclusion. Confusion? No, it's clear. It's chaviv. He'll hear what he has to hear. Okay, so why do we say that the shofar has to blow past the chatzotros? Elalama marach b'shofar. See, initially we figured the reason was because we want to hear the shofar clearly, at least the end portion of that tkiyah. But once that suggestion fell by the wayside, it's unnecessary. It's chaviv, you hear everything. Why does the shofar marich? Answer is Leda, Shemitzvah Sayem Shefer. To notify, to demonstrate that the primary mitzvah today on Rosh HaShanna is the Shefer. To Mekayim mitzvah Shefer, even though you have Chatzaitzis blowing, but the main element is Shefer, and therefore he goes the longest. The Mishnah spoke about the Taniyos during times of distress, droughts, fast days. Ubetaniyos b'shal scharim kfufin, upiv mitzvah kesef, use the bent ram shefaris, whose peh, whose opening, his mouthpiece, was coated with silver. Ma'ishna hasam dezav, u'ma'ishna hachat kesef. Why is it that Rosh HaShanna gets gold and a fast day gets silver? Ibayasema, one pshat is, kol kenufi de kesefu, a time of gathering, when you're summoning the community, you're sounding the alarm, creating an assembly. Kenufya, that involves silver. We learn this from a pasuk. Kol kenufi de kesefu, dechsev aseh l'chachat sheichat tzaychos kesef. Hashem tells Moshe, make 2 silver trumpets to gather the crowds. Apparently, somehow, silver relates to gathering of the crowds. Yibayisem, another pshat. HaTorah chasa. Amamayni shel Yisrael. The Torah was concerned about overspending, about saving the money of Yisrael. What do we find? That says Rashi, 13 lines from the bottom. HaTorah chasa d'chsiv. V'tziva hakoinu pinus habayis. This fellow was a Metzora. And Hashem is concerned even about a person who's a sinner, a Metzora. The Kohen would say, clear out the house. What is he concerned about? Kalim becoming tummy in a house with a nega? You can be toivel the Kalim. The Torah is concerned about those cheap earthenware Kalim which have no takana and a mikvah. Only breaking is matar. Look, the Torah is concerned about this mitzvah, about this person here, about his klei cheres. Look how careful the Torah is about mammon of Yisrael. Therefore, says the Gemara, we opt for silver instead of gold. Well, says the Gemara, okay, hasam nami na'avedik b'kesef. Then what about Rosh HaShanna? Make them of silver as well. Afilu hochi koved yantu adif. Still, says the Gemara, the covered yomtiv factor overrides. So Rosh HaShanna gets gold, but otherwise it's silver. Mishnah spoke about gold, silver plating, chatzaitzros, the whole elaborate procedure. Was this dafka in the Mikdash? Or can it be done elsewhere as well? We have a story. Rav Papa Bar Shmuel Savar, he figured, L'ma'avad uvda k'masnisin. To follow the lead of the Mishnah, chatzaitzros and shofar, even out of the Mikdash. Amali Rabbi responds, "Lo amru el b'mikdash." This was only said in the Mikdash. Tani nami hachi, of the same in a brayse. B'med dvarim amurim b'mikdash. This whole thing is regarding the Mikdash. Aval b'gvulim, but outside the Mikdash, you don't make a whole orchestra. It's either the chatzaitzros during the fast days or the shofar on Rosh HaShanna. Mokem sheish chatzaitzros. On a fast day when we have chatzaitzros, ain't shofar. There is no shofar. Likewise, mokem sheish shofar. On Rosh HaShanna, we have the shofar, Rosh HaShanna or Yom Kippur by Yovel. Shofar, yes. Shofar Makom Sheish Shofar, ain't chatzaitzros, there is no chatzaitzros. Furthermore, V'chein hinig Rabbi Chalafta b'Tzipori, the town of Tzipori, Rabbi Chalafta, enacted this custom to do the shofar with the chatzaitzros together. Rabbi Chananya ben Tradin did the same thing with Sichni. But when the Chacham found out about this, they said no. This was only meant to be done in the Harabayis, where they would enter through the Sha'ar Mizrach, or another pshat in Rashi, they would daven as Usnashim, which was near the Sha'ar Mizrach, near the eastern gate of the Azara. In any case, this only applies in the Beis HaMikdash, nowhere else. How do we know? Amar Rava, the Yitem of Shaban Levi, where do we find this in a pasuk? That the chatzaitzros are unique to the Beis HaMikdash. Rashi, the Mishnah actually adds that the gold plating was also only in the Mikdash. So where's the pasuk for this? The chsiv b'chatzaitzros v'kol shofar haril fnei HaMelech Hashem. So you meant to do the chatzaitzros and the kol shofar fnei Hashem. L'fnei HaMelech Hashem who debein chatzaitzros. It's only there that we use chatzaitzros v'kol shofar. Ava ba'al maloi, but typically we leave out the chatzaitzros. The Mishnah says Shava hayovel the Rosh HaShanna l'tkiyol l'brachos. We compare Yom Kippur of Yovel year to Rosh Hashanah when it comes to blowing, when it comes to brachos. The Gemara is assuming when it comes to the entire Nusach HaTfilah as well. Malchis, Zechronis, and Shofars, and everything contained therein. Amar of Shmuel bar Yitzchak. If so, Keman Matzlinan Ha'idna. In accordance with who? Which Shita is the one that holds that Ha'idna nowadays we are Matzlinan, we daven, we insert the following text in our Tfilah on Rosh Hashanah. Today is Tchilas Ma'asecha when you created the world. Whose Shita is this? Kiman Rabbi Lezer. The Omar, the Tishrei Nivra Olam. Apparently, this is only Rabbi Lezer speaking. The world was created b'Tishrei. Echad b'Tishrei. Actually, Teisus Navches says that when we say b'Tishrei Nivra Olam, Echad b'Tishrei is a time when Adam Rishon was created. That's the Tachlas Abriya. But officially, actually, the world was initiated Chaf Hei Elul, 6 days before. So in any case, when we speak about Zeh Yom B'Chilas Ma'asecha, this is the day of Bria So'ilim. We say this on Rosh Hashanah Echad B'Tishrei. Who's speaking? Rabbi Lezer, because according to Rabbi Yeshua, the world was created Echad Ben Nisan. And again, Echad Ben Nisan means Adam Rishon. It started Chaf Hei Be'adar. Okay, so apparently this Nusach follows Rabbi Lezer. Mas Rav Eina. Oh, here comes Rav Eina with a kasha. Mishnah says, Shava Yovel Rosh Hashanah L'Tkiyah L'Brachas. We compare Yovel to Rosh Hashanah when it comes to Tkiyah and to Brachas. What do you mean? What about that sentence that we say on Rosh Hashanah, which relates to Rosh Hashanah as being Tchilas Abriya? How do you say that on Yom Kippur of Yovel? It's inappropriate. It's out of time. What about that statement? Today, Rosh Hashanah is the Tchilas Ma'asecha. That certainly only applies on Rosh Hashanah and is inappropriate for Yom Kippur. To Rosh Hashanah Isa, it applies to Rosh Hashanah or Yovel Esa. You can't say it on Rosh Hashanah on Yom Kippur of Yovel. It's 10 days later. So how does this work? Answers the Gemara. You're right. Kiktani Ash'ara. The Mishnah says Shava Yovel Rosh Hashanah means the rest of davening. Of course, we delete this part, which has no relevance to Yom Kippur. Rav Shisha Beid Rav Idi, he had a different version of this Gemara. Masni Hachi. He presented the Gemara in a different way. We start with Amar of Shmuel bar Yitzchak, who says Hadis Nan Shava HaYovel LeRosh HaShanah L'Tkiyah L'Brachos. When the Mishnah says Rosh Hashanah is meant to be compared to Yovel is meant to be equated to Rosh Hashanah when it comes to Tkiyah and to Brachos. The entire text, the Nusach HaTfilah. Who's speaking? Whose Shita is this? Kiman, accordance with who? Apparently, like Rabbi Lezer, it can't be Rabbi Lezer, because according to Rabbi Lezer, it's not going to work. The Rabbi Lezer, Kivin the Omar, but Tishrei Nivra Olam, since he holds Tishrei was Bria So'ilim. If so, Ha'ika Zeh Yom Tchilas Ma'asecha Zikaron Lidam Rishon. So according to him, on Rosh Hashanah Echad B'Tishrei, we say Zeh Yom Tchilas Ma'asecha to commemorate Bria So'ilim. Well, Rosh Hashanah Isa only applies to Rosh Hashanah Yovel Esa and doesn't apply for Yom Kippur of Yovel. So when the Mishnah says Yovel and Rosh Hashanah go hand in hand, it can't be found in Rabbi Lezer's Shita. No, says the Gemara, it could. Kiktani, when the Mishnah says we compare the two things, it's Ash'ara, referring to the rest of Tefillah, Tkiyos and the other brachas, but this specific sentence, of course, is deleted on Yom Kippur. It's interesting, Teisus has a different pshat in the Gemara, and he comes out with a chiddush that Rav Eina really holds that sentence, Zayom Tchilas Ma'asecha, Zikaron Yom Rishon, isn't necessarily referring to Bria So'ilam. He says we pass like Rabbi Yeshua. We had this back on the few days. With Kufuk Rabbi Yeshua, we calculate the seasons based on a starting point, a baseline of Nisan, like Rabbi Yeshua. So why then do we say on Echad B'Tishrei, on Rosh Hashanah, Zayom Tchilas Ma'asecha? So he says it's Tchilas Ma'aseh Din. Sha'olam Nidon B'li Eskayim Olav. All agree, even Rabbi Shimon agrees. The Yom Hadin is Echad B'Tishrei. So this is the Tchilas Ma'asecha, where Hashem evaluates the value of the world and where it's going, and if it's worthy of its existence, so it's considered Zayim Tchilas Ma'asecha, because of the aspect of din that's taking place then. And he says, perhaps that's also Shaykh on Yom Kippur di Yovel, because Yom Yom Kippur go together, it's all part of the same din arrangement. Then this is another interesting pshat he brings from the nusach that we have in the Piyutim. We find an interesting thing. On the one hand, we find that B'Tishri Nivra Ilam. Then we find a piyut from the same author, Lezer Kalir. We find by Pesach, he follows Rabbi Yeshua that Nisan Nivra Ilam. How can that be? It's either or. It says Rabbi Natan Chiddush. I'll just read it inside. He says, Elu ve'elu divrei l'kim chaim. Both are Hashem's words. Both are Torah. Both shitas, Nisan and Tishrei, are compatible. Perhaps we can say, the B'Tishrei olav b'machshav livrois. The plan, so to speak, of Hashem was to create the world Tishrei. So it was expressed in that manner. In the machshava realm, the world had been introduced during Tishrei. V'lo nivra ad Nisan, but in actuality, the physical manifestation of that Bria only came about Nisan. So both are really true. There's an aspect of Bria of Tishrei, and an aspect of Bria by Nisan, meaning even Rabbi Yeshua, who says Bi Nisan Nivra Olam, he agrees that the initiation, the machshava process of that Bria started by Tishrei. So it fits very well. Even according to Rabbi Yeshua, we can say, on Echad B'Tishrei, Zayom Tchilas Ma'asecha. Okay, so in conclusion, what did we learn today so far? We learned that in the Mikdash only, they had the shofar on Rosh HaShanna with some gold plating. The Gemara says because covered Yom Tov, as opposed to the Ta'aniyos where it was silver plated for two reasons. Silver is related to gathering. Number two, HaTorah Chasa Amamani Shel Yisrael. Of course, the plating was not where the lips meet the shofar, otherwise it would pose a chatzitza. And the fact that shofar and chatzitza is blown simultaneously doesn't pose a concern because of the chavivus. You end up hearing and discerning both sounds. Says the Mishnah, shofar shenistak, a shofar which was split down the middle, v'dav kai, and he glued it together, puzzle, doesn't work. Or dibek shivrei shofaris, puzzle. Likewise, if he has a shofar sliced into slices, like a fish, and he glued it back together, it's puzzle. Why? It says Rashi 3 lines from the bottom. Shofar shenizdak v'dibka b'devek, used something called devek, shikar, glued, right? Use glue. Puzzle. Dahavlik shnei shofaris. You meant to have one single entity. Here it's a conglomerate of several pieces. It's not a single shofar. It doesn't work. Nikah. Shofar got a hole, stomach, and he plugged up the hole. He patched it up. Does it work? If there was some sort of change in the sound of the shofar, it's out of tune. It's different than what it sounded like before. So that's possible because it's no longer the natural shofar. But if it doesn't have a sound change, it's still the same original sound, kosher, then it works. This is what we had earlier. He blows into a pit, a pita, a vat. If you heard the pure, clear sound of the shofar, that's okay. But if it's an echo that he hears, he's not yotze. Likewise, we find a similar case. This fellow was walking behind the shul. Or he lived near the shul. Suddenly he hears the sound of a shofar on Rosh HaShanna or the Megillah being read on Purim. If he paid attention, he's yotze. If he's just listening without kavanah, lo yotze is not yotze. Even though you have two people here, this fellow heard, this fellow is yotze, this fellow isn't. You know why? This fellow focused, he was mindful, so he's yotze. This fellow was not paying attention. He's not yotze. This is somewhat related to the earlier case. We have two sounds. One works, one doesn't. Right? This sound is a pure, clear sound of the shofar. This is the echo. And it doesn't work. Here as well, you can have two sounds, two shofaris, two megillas. One works, one doesn't. Depends on your kavanah. Tanraban, Aruch. This fellow has a long shofar. V'kitzrein, he trimmed it. Kosher, it's still good. Why would I think not? It says Tosfos. The Chiddush is the loitema the pasal mishum dechsiva avarta. The Gemara soon will bring the pasuk avarta shofar trua. You meant to use a shofar the way it grows naturally. You can't go ahead and redesign a shofar. So perhaps in this case, where it was a long one and it was trimmed, it's no longer the natural shofar. Chiddush is no. It remained the same, it's just a bit shorter. So it works. Girdoi. What if he sands down the shofar? He scrapes it down. V'midoi al gildoi. And he got it so thin. It's a geladak, Rashi says, just a thin a scale, like a thin skin. It's almost transparent. It's very thin. Kosher, it's still good. There's no halacha that it has to be thick. As long as it's still retaining its shape, it's good. See, zav. This is the Bryce that we mentioned all the way back in Amud Aleph. He gold-plated his shofar. It depends. If it's where he places his mouth, that's pasul. Why, says Rashi, back in Amud Aleph, Shatkiya b'zav, v'lei b'shofar, he's blowing into the gold, not in the shofar, it's a chatzitza. Sheloi b'makam anochas peh kosher, but if it's not where he places his mouth, that's fine. See, po zav mibifnim. This is all if it was caught on the outside, but if he places zav inside the shofar, pasul, then it doesn't work. Why, says Rashi, Shatkiya b'zav, he's blowing into the gold. He's not blowing directly into the shofar. What about b'chutz? He caught it on the outside. Well, it depends. If it changes the sound, it's pasul. V'imlav kasha, otherwise it's good. Nikav ustamay, it got a hole and he plugged the hole. Imma akaves atkiya, pasul. If right now it's sounding differently than earlier, it's pasul. It's no longer the natural, original shofar. V'imlav kasha, but if there's no change in sound, that's fine. What about nasan shofar? V'sach shofar. For some reason decide to place one shofar inside the other, and he's blowing both together as one. Well, it depends. Im koil pnimi shama yatsa. If somehow he's only going to blow the inside one, so let's say it sticks out so he can access it easier. He's blowing the inner one, and that's the sound that he's going to hear. It's sticking out from both sides, and he's going to hear just the inside one. Then that's fine. The fact that it's sitting in another shofar, it's irrelevant. But if he's going to hear the outside one, meaning he's really going to blow the outside one, and the inner one is going to get in the way, and the sound is going to be produced by that breath, by his air just being squeezed between the shofars, that's not a natural shofar sound, then he's not yotze. Let's go to Rashi on the top line. Im koil chitzon shama lo yotze. Why? The ikah mechitzos hapnimim afsekas atkiya, because the mechitzos of the inner one are interrupting. They're getting in the way of the tkiya. It's not a natural way of blowing in a shofar. Tosfos has another pshat. He says the koil is yotze ba'avir shebein chitzon lepnimi. The koil comes out from between the two shofars. V'hainu beis or gimel shofaros, that constitutes 2 or 3 shofaros, meaning it's no longer one shofar producing the sound. It's a joint production, and therefore it doesn't work. So we have 2 ways to understand Rashi pshat. There's a chatzitza, and Tosfos adds that it's considered 2 or 3 shofaros producing that sound. Tana Rabbanan, we learned further in the Brisa. Girdoi, you scrape down the shofar, mainly bafnim, bein bachutz, whether on the outside, whether from the inside, kosher, even if it's very thin, it's okay. Girdoi v'amidoi al gildoi kosher, if he scraped it all the way till it's just like a scale, it's fine. Hiniach shofar b'sech shofar, he places one shofar inside the other. Im kol pnimi shama yatsa, if it's only the inner one that's actually active, that's okay. Im kol chitzon shama yatsa, if it's the outer one producing the sound, it doesn't work. If he turns it inside out, he reshapes his shofar, it doesn't work. Amar Papa, don't think that the problem only exists if the if he turns it inside out, like when one takes off his robe, his shirt, if he's in a hurry and he's doing it lazily, it just goes inside out. Don't think only in that case do we say the shofar is pasul if he totally turns it inside out. Rashi says by soaking it in hot water and he mushed it up and he turned it inside out. Even if he didn't go to that extent, he took the kotzer, the narrow side, and he widened it. And he narrowed the wide side. Suppose there was some chip on the mouth side, so he wanted to turn the shofar backwards, so he widened the narrow and he narrowed the wide. That's also no good. My time of why? Rav Masna, V'havarta. It says v'havarta shofar true. We learn derech havarasa be'inan. And Rashi says kederach sha'ayil ma'aviroi b'roishe behema mechayim. You meant to use the shofar the way the animal wears it. So you can't go ahead and manipulate its shape, its design. The narrow has to remain narrow, and the wide, wide. Mishnah spoke about divek shifrei shefaris puzzle. He took pieces and he glued them together. It's puzzle. Tanraban hoisif olav kolshu. So he has a short shofar and he wants to lengthen it. So he adds some more shofar material at the end. Is that okay? Bein b'mina, whether he actually used a shofar material to lengthen his shofar, bein shelei b'mina, or used something of another material, added some clay to his shofar to lengthen it, puzzle, because it's no longer the original shofar. Nikav l'stamei. Got a hole and he plugged the hole. Bein b'mina, whether he used shofar material, maybe he had some powder or some paste of shofar material, bein shalei b'mina, or whether he used non-shofar material to plug up that hole, puzzle. Now Rashi says, we are speaking where there was no change in sound. Right? So that's number one. Otherwise, there's nothing to speak, nothing to talk about it. So it remains the original sound. It's still the natural shofar sound. Still says Tanakama, if he has a hole and it gets plugged up, it's no longer the original sound, no longer the original shofar, and it's puzzle. Rabbi Yehuda says, no. Depends what he used to plug up the hole. Again, we're speaking, shofar still sounds like it used to. There's no change in the actual tekiah, right? So b'minei kosher, if he plugged it with shofar material, it's fine. He restored the shofar, it's back to normal, it's fine. Shaloi b'minei puzzle, but if he uses something other than shofar material to plug up that hole, it's no longer the original shofar and it's puzzle. Says the Gemara, b'minei kosher, when we say that b'minei works according to Rabbi Nassan, Rabbi Yehuda, you meant to know that there's one condition. So again, we're speaking that it still has the original sound, the way it used to sound before the hole. Number two, we're using minoi material to plug it up. And number three, v'hu, provided shenirshtayer ruboy. Roiv of the shofar is intact, which means if you have a shofar 2 tefachim long, so most of the shofar, starting from where you place your mouth, that first section, most of the shofar going down has to be unaffected by any holes. Then we say, okay, if most of it is intact, then the plugged hole doesn't concern us. But if the hole is to be found in the first section of that shofar, before the point of roiv, then it's going to be puzzle regardless. So this is very machmer. 3 conditions you need. The sound of the shofar is unchanged. You need to plug it b'minoi, and ruboy is intact. Apparently, if he's going to use non-shofar material to plug up that hole, even if roiv is intact, it's certainly puzzle. So again, you need 3 conditions met. Otherwise, it's puzzle. There was another version of Rabbi Yehuda which took a lenient approach. Rabbi Yehuda was referring to the second part of Rav Nassan's statement, which was shaloi b'minei puzzle. If you use non-shofar material to plug up the hole, it's puzzle. Rabbi Yehuda, that only concerns us if the hole is present at the first roiv of the shofar, at the roiv from his mouth down the shofar. So both deficiencies are there. The hole is sort of at the beginning of the shofar, and number 2, he plugged it with non-shofar material. That's why it's puzzle. But if there's only one deficiency, it's fine. Mechlal, apparently, the b'mina, if you used shofar material to plug up the hole, even if most of it is whole, it's fine. So in conclusion, we have 2 shittos. In a case where the shofar was nikav, and he closed it up, and it's not ma'akav atkiya, meaning it still retained its original sound. Tanakama says, minoi, shlei b'minoi, either way it's possible. Rabbi Nassan says, b'minoi it's kasha, shlei b'minoi it's possible. Now, we have Rabbi Yehuda who adds another dimension. We have 2 versions of Rabbi Yehuda. According to version 1, when we say b'minoi is kosher, that's dafka of ruba is kosher. According to version 2 of the Gemara, when we say shalei b'minoi is possible, that's dafka when ruba is nika, but otherwise it is kosher. The Brisa continues, Tzipo zav mibifnim puzzle. If he plated the inside of the shofar with gold, it's puzzle. If it's on the outside, well, it depends. If it changes the sound, then it's puzzle. Lav, otherwise kosher. Nistak la'orche pasel. The shofar got a split down the middle, along its length, it's pasel. L'roichbei, but if it's along its width, well, then it depends. You see, you could just ignore that section if you have enough without it. Im nishtayir by shir tkiya kasher. If until that point of the split you have a shir tkiya, which the Gemara soon will tell us is a tefach. So from his mouth until the split, I was speaking that it was split along its width, right? A slice of bread. So if the section between his mouth and the split is sufficient to provide a shir shofar, then it's kosher. Rashi says, let's view it as though it's trimmed off. Right? It doesn't do any harm; it's just hanging on the other side of the shofar, so it's fine without it. But if the split is higher up, possible. No, v'kama shir tkir. What is the minimum shir for the shofar? Pirush Reb Shimon Gamliel, k'dei she'yachzenu biyadai. The shofar needs to be large enough that you can grab onto it with your hand. V'yira lekan lekan, and still be seen on either side of your hand. So it will stick out from your fingers in either direction. And there's a girsa that adds the word tefach. In fact, the Gemara Nida Chavav gives us a list of things which are based on a shir tefach, and one of them is a shofar. It appears from our Gemara that the shir tefach is based on practical considerations. It's called a shir tkiyah. You have to grab hold of it. That is the minimum requirement to be able to hold it properly and still blow with it, and still hear the sound coming out the other side without being muffled by your fingers. So, how do we get to a tefach? Because a tefach is 6 small fingers, pinky fingers. So if he's grabbing hold with his 4 fingers, it's not really a full tefach, right? It's only 4 or 5 pinky-sized, fingers. So when he has a bit sticking out from this side, to blow onto here, that's a total of a tefach, and that is a shir, the minimum shir of a shofar. Remember, as a kid, I actually got a hold of a horn. I had a friend that worked in a slaughterhouse, so he brought me this raw horn. We processed it and sanded it down, and really it looked very nice, but it was very small, and it was just barely a tefach, just bigger than the hand, and actually made a pretty nice sound. So that's the minimum shir of a shofar. So if the point of the tzedek is below the tefach mark, then it's okay. Rashi says, let's treat it as though it's trimmed off, and it's still fine. The Brisa continues. Haya koiloi dak. Let's say the sound coming from the shofar was interesting. Dak was high pitched, or like bass, heavy sounding. Sorid, hoarse sounding, dry sounding. Kosher, it's fine. Shekala koiloi is ksher m'shofar. Any sound coming from the shofar is acceptable. Sholchalei lavud Shmuel. They sent a message to the father of Shmuel with the following halacha. Kadchay. Suppose he drilled into the shofar, v'takabay, and used it for tkiyah shofar, yotza, it's fine. What do you mean, pshita? Of course. That's how you make a shofar. Kulu nami mikdach kadchlu. All shofaras are drilled. How do you open the mouthpiece? Right? It grows on the animal, has the wide part connected to the animal, and then it narrows and sharpens, and that's the narrow side of the shofar, but it's closed up, it's plugged up. You have to drill through it. Or the way I did it as a kid, upon this fellow's, my friend's instructions, I took a nail and got it red hot and just pushed it through that narrow side, and just like goes right through, and it created that opening. That's how you make a shofar. You drill a hole. So what's the chiddush that they send Shmuel? You drill a hole, it's fine. Omar of Ashi, no, there was something unique here. What happened was, they didn't do it in the conventional manner. They drilled through the zachrus of the shofar. What is that? It says Rashi. Somewhere around the middle of the Amid. So the shofar has a zachrus and a nakvas. While the shofar is still on the animal, how does it grow? There's a bone protruding from the head, and goes into the, so to speak, the shofar shell, right? So really a shofar consists of 2 parts. There's the bone protruding from the animal, and then there's a shofar shell surrounding that. After which you have to Right? When you snip the whole thing off the animal, it's pretty much plugged up, right? It's closed up, it's filled with the bone. You have to pull out the bone. What they do is they sit it out to dry until it shrinks a bit and shrivels, and then you can pull out the bone from inside, and you're left with the hollow shofar, called shofar because it's shofar, like a cylinder, it's a hollow container. Now these fellows were lazy. They didn't pull out the bone. So he didn't pull out the bone, just he drilled straight through the inner bone and created some sort of a hole like that and blew through that. Oh, so that's the chiddush that it works. Ma'od Tema says the Gemara min b'minei choitzitz. Perhaps since you have the bone filling up the shofar, that's a chatzitza. K'mashmon, there's no chatzitza because min b'minei. They're both the same material, they're both bone material, and therefore we know that min b'minei doesn't create a chatzitza, and it's considered to have blown his shofar properly. And the Mishnah spoke about it. He blew into some sort of pit. The Mishnah says, make sure not to listen to the echo of that shofar. You have to hear the pure sound of the shofar, otherwise you're not yotzei. This is only said, this is only a concern to the one standing outside, on the lip, on the outside of the bar. And they're listening in. And they're going to get to the echo coming out from the bar. But those that are standing inside the bar itself, they'll hear the pure sound of the shofar as it comes out. And there's no concern there. They'll hear it before it gets echoed. Tanami Hachi, we learn likewise in the Brisa. If you blow into the pit, you're yotzei. Now we have a stira, but Tanan, lo yotzei. Our Mishnah says you're not yotzei. Oh, this must be the solution. Allah Shema Minah, apparently. We can conclude, like Rav Huna says, Shema Minah, indeed this is a raya. The Mishnah is speaking about the people standing outside. To them, it's all a matter of echoes and reverberations. The Brisa is speaking when you're in the bar. Here, you hear it clearly. There were others that had a different version of this discussion. Instead of Rav Huna getting up and saying, I'm going to tell you pshat in the Mishnah, it's this and that, he actually came to offer a solution to a stira that we had. So it's the same result, just a question how to get it. On the one hand, now we have a Mishnah, which says that you blow into the pit, you're not yotzei, because it's a kol harvara, it's an echo. But the Bnei Yeshiva asked the Kashma Brisa, which says yotzei. How does that work? Rav Huna came to the rescue, and he says, like Kash, the answer is very simple. Mishnah speaking, where they're standing outside, and over there it's the kol havora that they'll hear, the echo. Kan, whereas the Brisa is speaking, the ones that are standing inside the bar. And for them, it's always going to be clear and no concerns. Okay, so what do we learn regarding the halachas of shofar today? We have a long list of requirements and qualifications and conditions. So let's try to cover them all. We have the concept of shofar, which means one shofar. It needs to be one unit, the way it comes naturally, as opposed to nistak v'dibek. It was split up and glued together. Or in a case where he had a shofar in a shofar, and he's blowing through the outer one. According to Tosfos, the concern was because this coil is being produced by more than one shofar. He needs to blow without any chatzitza concerns, as opposed to gold plating the mokem peh, as opposed to gold plating the inside of the shofar, as opposed to having a shofar inside a shofar and the outside one, the outer one, is producing the sound, which according to Rashi is a concern because of chatzitza. We learned that drilling a hole into the zachros, into the inner bone, is not a problem because, although it appears like a chatzitza, but it's part of the same entity. It's min b'mina, it's not chatzitza. You have to hear the actual kol shofar, as opposed to a shofar which got a hole, nikav, ustamai, and he plugged it up. Or in a case where he gold-plated the outside of the shofar, and there is a difference, there's an effect. It changed the sound of the shofar. That's no longer considered the natural, pure kol shofar. Or in a case where he blew into a bar and a dus, and people standing outside trying to listen in to the echo and reverberations of that shofar. On the other hand, we learned any sound coming from the shofar, high-pitched, low-pitched, even hoarse sounding, is okay. We also learned that the shofar needs to be blown derech havarasei. the way it naturally grows in the animal, as opposed to a fellow who manipulates the shape of the shofar. He widens the narrow, or he narrows the wide part. It's no longer the natural shofar. That shofar can't be used for the mitzvah. All the best to you, and much, much hatzlach.